I'd like to welcome everybody to the Heart of Food and Beverage today by Good to Grow. And today we have Emily Wilson from Living Tree Foods on as our guest on this beautiful February day. Welcome, Emily.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
I had written some things for you to kind of prepare for the podcast. And the first thing that came to mind when I was doing that was around your pitch and plate. Mm-hmm. And you had to get the one-on-one coaching to get yourself ready for pitching to institutions, right? It was the pitch and plate is pitching to institutional food service, so healthcare and post-secondary institutions. And you had said, I don't think I want to speak about being vegan. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's not going to be a good idea. And so it got me wondering, you did end up talking about it. You did end up, and actually you and Kyle, your partner, were super funny and ended up winning Best Pitch. Mm-hmm. So I'm sure you guys were a bit surprised by that. But now I'm thinking, how do you feel about it now? About being vegan and just like being able to tell that story? Does it feel comfortable to you now?
Yeah. We don't necessarily shy away from it. I mean, I think we more talk about the aspects of our product and just kind of let them speak for themselves. So my driving force, my main goal has always been to make it so that fewer animals are suffering in the world. And I used to think that was going to be through law. That's why I went to law school. I did a summer at an organization called Animal Justice. But as it turns out, it is by creating delicious plant-based products to entice people to eat more plant-based food in lieu of animal products. And I think the way to have a positive impact is to kind of capture those people that wouldn't otherwise be eating vegan food. So since you're not preaching to the choir, you kind of need to be a bit careful, I think, and mindful of not alienating people. I think just the reality of human nature is that if people feel like they're being told what to do or guilted or scolded in any way, their hackles go up and their heels dig in. And so we've just found it's more effective to kind of draw people towards delicious food as opposed to kind of being like, did you know? Right. Yeah. And so, I mean, we run into even just the word vegan can do that. We have some signage that says vegan ravioli, for example, and that can be enough to set some people off. Recently I've had a couple people say, no, I can't try that. I'm allergic to vegan food. Or, or this one man.
It's a bit broad.
Yeah. Okay. Never had an apple. Recently, this one man did try it and he was like, oh, that's really good. That's dangerously good. But I can't eat that. My food eats that. So you do run into a little bit of that. But honestly, for the most part, we've really been able to win over vegan skeptics. The products just kind of speak for themselves. And that's kind of why our taglines are often along the lines of vegan food even your conservative uncle will love, or even your Italian nonna will approve of, and even my boyfriend likes it, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, don't shy away from it necessarily, but I think just I'm trying to have the biggest positive impact that I can. And so I just feel like being like, this is delicious. Like, come eat it.
Do you feel like it's more for flexitarians then? Like, do you feel like that's sort of more your market?
I do. Yeah. Most of our or consumers, as far as I can tell, are not vegan. I mean, I don't have the data on who's buying it in store.
Yeah.
But we do a lot of farmers market and consumer shows, and most of them are not vegan.
Right.
So that's encouraging.
Yeah. Well, that's a good way to have an impact. It also makes me think about the legal background. So I didn't know that about you, that you were kind of wanting to do that type of law. Mm-hmm. So what made you decide food instead of that?
Just kind of meeting Kyle and starting the business, I guess.
Really?
It just kind of happened that way. I mean, I don't want to write off law forever. I mean, depending on how the business goes, whether it goes badly or whether we sell it at some point, I would love to still practice law or get into that area
Mhm.
at some point.
Right.
But just for the time being, this has kind of captured our interest, and it's growing. And
Mhm.
so this is kind of just what we're
Mhm.
doing for the time being.
Okay, going back to the law thing
Mhm.
again, though, and prior to that, were you an activist?
So, yeah, I mean, I don't think I've ever, like, held up signs
Yeah.
anywhere. Actually, that's a lie. I did hold up signs one time, but yeah, I would volunteer for organizations like uh, Animal Justice and the Good Food Institute, which
Mhm.
promotes plant-based companies and whatnot. So I would do volunteer work, and even just I think leading by example is just a really effective way of promoting plant-based eating. Um, it's been a snowball effect. My whole family's vegan now, and so my
Wow.
sister's partner, and it just kind of emanates from you. So
Yeah, wow.
yeah. So I mean, I don't know if other people would count that as being an activist, but well, I mean, in law school, I was the co-president of the Animal Justice chapter, so I'm really involved
Mhm.
in the
Okay.
space.
I would
Yeah.
say that then, yeah.
I'm
Right.
definitely not shy about it.
Right,
Yeah.
right, right. Okay, let's pivot a bit and turn to
Mhm.
the business itself because
Mhm.
this is the heart of food and beverage. And so
Mhm.
we do want to talk about kind of the heart of what how it feels to be in business. And I know that business is not, I've been in it myself, so I know it's incredibly challenging. There are positives and there are negatives to business. Can you share with us some of the positive things that you felt just from an impact standpoint or even from, a great win or something like that that's happened for you at Living Tree?
Mhm. So I think one of the consistent highs that we experience and that I sometimes do take for granted is just the positive reaction we get to our products.
Mhm.
Like I said, we do a lot of markets and shows, and so we do a lot of sampling, and we get really crazy reactions sometimes. We've had a couple of people cry when they try our ravioli, just because they're so
Wow.
happy that they can finally get this flavor again, I guess. Food is such a
Wow.
big part of people's lives, including mine. And if you think you're going to have to sacrifice something or give something up for the rest of your life and then you realize you don't have to, it can be emotional.
Wow.
So, and just winning over those people who want to not like it and
Right.
then being like, okay, that's actually really good. So if there's one thing that we're not losing sleep over, that we're really confident about, is that we have a really good product. It's not a fad, it's not a gimmick or a novelty product. It's just a really good quality product in a growing space. So if we're ever feeling kind of discouraged by
Yeah.
how tough things are, which as we all know, they really are, just kind of that can breathe new motivation into us sometimes.
Mhm, mhm. Why don't we talk a little bit about some of the things that you've found have been great supports to you? Like, you're part of the lunchroom group right now, which
Mhm.
is just to give the folks, was mentioned by a few other folks that were doing the podcast, but, there's a group of, later emerging brands that have come together. There's 11 of them, that are walking through a cohort where they get to get some learning, but also there's a real camaraderie that's built from being able to have conversations with these other brands. Have you felt that to be helpful for you?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even just, I mean, there's the practical tips and tricks and whatnot, and
Yeah.
insights and contacts that are made through that type of cohort. But
Mhm.
even just the solidarity that comes along with it, and knowing that, being on LinkedIn or Instagram, you only see the wins, and it can be, it can be inspirational, but it can also be really demotivating to think we must be doing something wrong if it's such a struggle, and if we're having these things go wrong, if we're making these mistakes. So just kind of getting a peek behind the curtain of what other people are going through, that in itself is motivation to keep going, that it
Right.
doesn't necessarily mean you should quit.
No,
That you're
because
doing
everybody's
everything wrong.
having these challenges, right? Like it
Exactly.
was the reason I wanted to do this in the first place was because it's very, very lonely when you're having to go through the day to day and make
Definitely
these
is.
decisions or feel paralyzed to make a decision. It's something to see a whole pile of companies that are absolutely going through the same things, right?
Totally.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Are there any other things that you felt have been helpful for your business? Like, other things that you've been involved in that you've felt has been helpful for your business?
Yeah, I mean, I think since the beginning, just kind of learned that networking as much as possible and applying to everything that you come across and every, award type thing or um, course or trade show, that has been, huge for us. You know, like Pitch and Plate, like the lunchroom, BCFB's Product of the Year award, just kind of getting to know as many people in the industry as possible and getting as much exposure as possible, I
Yeah.
think has been key to us growing.
And you have been, I mean, this is something too that I think the folks listening should know. You have been great recipients of awards, right? You won Pitch and Plate. You won the gold at our From the Ground Up trade show a few years
Mhm.
back.
Mhm.
So have you seen listings come from that? Have you seen increased business come from things like that?
Definitely.
Yeah.
So at the trade show where we got Product of the Year, that's where we found our first our regional distributor. We were also one of the finalists for the CHFA Launchpad a
Wow.
couple of years ago, and that's where we met our national distributor.
Right.
And then at that distributors trade show couple weeks ago, actually, it's just a specific trade show for them.
Yeah.
I was also able to participate in another pitch, just one of 5 companies doing it there. And that's how we got, I don't want to say which one because it's not official yet,
You
but
got a major retailer?
yeah, that's where we got a
Mhm.
major
Mhm.
retailer.
Mhm.
So yeah, these kind of networking things have, I haven't had a ton of success with just cold emails. So
Well, that's because I think what's happened in the industry is that there's fewer people doing those
mhm,
jobs now. And
mhm,
so you have to get yourself in a space where you're able to run into those people. And so where do you run into them? You run into them at trade shows, you run into them at events, you run into them at pitch sessions, right? Like,
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah,
So,
Pitch and Plate.
yeah,
That's where we met our food service distributor. Well, we had met them previously, but it's what prompted us to finally get listed. And
yeah.
health authorities brought us on because of that.
Right.
So
So you've seen success with that.
totally.
Yeah, that is, I know. And how would you have ever found that if you didn't have something right? Some venue to meet them at? It would have been really difficult.
Exactly.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. On the challenging side, when we think about what's happening right now, do you see what's happening right now? And just to give it some context, it is February that we're talking about this, so we never know what's going to happen from February till March or
Mhm.
April or even May, which might feel like 5 years from now, at the rate things are going. What are your feelings around local and Canadian and how that's going to impact your business? Do you see it as a positive? Do you see it as a challenging time coming? Like what are your thoughts around it?
Yeah, well, so we've always been of the mindset that we want to keep our product as accessible as we possibly can. I mean, we are a small business, so we can't compete with giant conglomerates, but we have really tried to keep our price point at that $9.99 or below level. So I'm sorry, I'm losing my train of thought. I don't know. I don't know. Can we pause this? Can
Yeah,
we cut
yeah,
it?
that's
Okay.
fine. That's fine. Just
Um.
take a moment and it'll just get edited out. It's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um.
So you want the products to be accessible, right?
Mhm.
Because of what's been going on. But what are you like d- do you are you feeling like this is an opportunity or are you feeling like this is going to pile on the challenges?
Yeah. I guess. I guess the thing is, I am of two minds about it, and so I don't know exactly how it's all going to shake out. I think, of course, people are going to want to buy more Canadian-made products, but with everything getting more expensive, I just don't know if people are going to be able to. So, yeah, I mean, and we recently, recently, feels recent, it was, I guess maybe 9 months ago or so, we're able to lower our prices, actually. Most people have been raising their prices, but we really wanted to keep things as affordable as possible for people. So we're trying to keep our shelf price at that $10 or below mark. And so we lowered our price to our distributors and, you know, aren't getting the margin that we would be getting if we hadn't done that, obviously.
Right.
So it's just any further squeezes on that margin and
Right.
any weakening of the Canadian dollar and lessening of consumers' purchasing power is
Right.
scary.
Yeah.
So I don't know how it's all going to play out. I mean,
Mhm.
I hope people are able to make that concerted effort to buy Canadian small business products. I just don't know if that's going to be the reality.
Yeah, I know. I hear you. And is there a significant amount of your products that are going through the US, like your ingredients and things like that? Will it impact you significantly, do you think?
So we buy some of our inputs, from overseas,
Okay.
straight from the source. But if the Canadian dollar is weaker, then that means they're going to be getting more expensive.
Right.
So not a ton directly from the U.S.,
Mhm.
but and we don't export yet. But exporting to the U.S. was on our short-term goals.
Right.
Uh, don't know how that's going to affect that now. I mean, even with the tariffs, though, if the Canadian dollar is that much less valuable, then it still might be worth selling to the States.
Right.
So,
Right.
um,
I know. I think there's a lot of unknowns right
I was just
now.
going to
I
say,
think
just
you're
a lot of
pulling up so many
uncertainty.
different unknowns.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, interesting.
So,
Huh.
I mean, we have enough things on our immediate plate that we're just kind of like, okay, I guess we'll just see how things
Right.
go. We're still a small enough business that uh, there are still a lot of people who can buy our product that are not buying it currently. So
Right.
we still have room to grow. It's not like we're going after the dollar store and those discount markets
Right.
necessarily, as much as we'd like to be able to be at that price point. We're just not.
Right.
So, I mean, even though in general everyone's purchasing power is lessening, we still have room to grow, and we have been growing.
Yeah.
So it's scary, but hopefully not fatal.
Right. Right. Well, you're probably saying the sentiment that most of the processors feel, right? Most of the brands feel.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I don't think anybody's not getting inputs outside of BC. I mean,
Yeah.
unless you're a farmer and you're doing a value add, right? Like, then that's okay.
Yeah.
But everything else, I think, is subject to they're getting ingredients or packaging or whatever, right, out of that US market. So that is going to impact it, and it is a bit of an unknown.
Mhm.
I was going to say, with all of the things that are happening and the stress of kind of building a small business, and you have a partnership with someone in this, how does that affect you guys?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So many people say so Kyle is, business partner and life partner.
Yes.
So a lot of people say, "Oh, I would never be able to work with my significant other." And there is friction. Sometimes,
Yeah.
you obviously can't separate
Right.
work from home, and
Yeah.
we pretty much always know how each other's day went because we had the same
'Cause you're
day.
there. Right.
Yeah. But we often remark how lucky we are that we're just so opposite in terms of our strengths and weaknesses. Kyle, I'm much more focused on like the details and the nitty gritty, and Kyle is very big picture focused.
Right.
And honestly, I think he does not have the ability to be overwhelmed or intimidated. I'm always making fun of him because he's just like, "Oh yeah, that'll take 5 minutes," like a piece of cake. And I'm like, actually, this could go wrong. So in that way, I think he's kind of in the driving force of like
Yeah.
pushing us to grow, but I maybe kind of tether us to reality a bit. Maybe I'm a bit overly pessimistic, I don't know, but just to not biting off more than we can chew. So we definitely balance each other out in that way. And then even just everyday tasks, you know, I kind of do more of the admin stuff. He likes more of the physical work, and he's really good at consumer shows, selling to people, and I like making recipes. So there's not
You're more the introvert. He's more the extrovert.
Totally.
This is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I think that sums. Yeah.
Okay.
So not a ton of overlap. So it works pretty well in that way.
Right.
I mean, I think as well as it could.
And Kyle is a lawyer as well, right? He was trained as a lawyer.
Yeah.
Did he ever practice?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
He did. So okay, he was a year ahead of me in school.
Okay.
So we started the business. I guess the year he was graduating and when I was going into my final year. And so he actually did article and became a fully fledged lawyer and was doing that simultaneously.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend that to anyone. Yeah, actually the day he wrote the bar exam, it's like an hours long exam, the culmination of, you know, years of work. We went to our commissary kitchen that evening and worked in the kitchen till like 2 a.m. that night. So
after he did the bar exam.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So it was
That's not a celebration. That is not a celebration.
Exactly. But this, I think, just kind of his heart was way more in the business, and so it wasn't too long that he jumped ship into this full time.
Okay.
Which you know, is a risky decision. So
yeah, but it's, you know, you guys are young too, right? And you have to try these things, and this is one of the things that I've seen often with coaching people is that the younger kind of the better, because you don't have the same, as you get older, you have less and less ability to take on risk, right? You get very risk averse as you get older.
Yeah.
So I think it's good to be doing this, you know, when you're younger. What do you guys, so you have to work together every single day. So what do you do to kind of blow off steam? Like, what do you do?
Yeah, I mean, it's not sustainable, but the business is pretty all-consuming right now.
Right.
We don't get a ton of time off, and if we do, I don't have a lot of energy to really do the things that I used to like to do, just being completely honest. It's pretty all-consuming right now. I call my mom a lot.
Yeah. Because your mom doesn't live here, right? She's in Ontario?
Yeah, she lives in Ontario. And she's been so helpful. Both my parents have been. So my mom has helped with some recipe development. My mom she's doing demos for us in Ontario.
Oh, that's so great.
I know.
Oh, thanks, Mom.
I know. So yeah, and my dad also, he basically just taught me bookkeeping and some accounting just from scratch.
Is he an accountant?
No, but he has his own businesses, and so he's just kind of always.
So he knows how to do this stuff.
Exactly.
That's cool.
So in terms of what we do to blow off steam, I mean, we mostly just work these days. Like I said, it's not sustainable. Things are getting more manageable, but probably at the point where we would like to fundraise and are looking for investment to knowing when to outsource and when to do things ourselves is a bit of a challenge.
Right. And it's probably a lot of people's challenge, right? When you're building a business, it's very, I mean, I even know this from my own standpoint. It's hard when you're bringing in, when you're trying to outsource or you're bringing in different people. It just, it feels a little bit like you have to kind of feel like you're bursting before you can do that. And then at the same time, you're like, where's my bandwidth to be able to actually integrate this and make it work well, right?
Exactly.
I know that's really challenging.
Exactly. Because training someone new, I'm just like, I might as well just do it myself.
Yeah, you know, your job is like, 50% more, right? Because you're having to show someone and then also do the work, right? So I know it's really, I think that's one of the things that is not talked about enough with business is
Mhm.
that even when we do have, some funds to be able to bring in help, it actually can be like daunting because you're like, oh my gosh, now I got to train someone. And it's going
Yeah.
to take me it's going to be like, I'm not going to have, I've got 4 more months ahead of me of just like,
Yeah.
15-hour days, right?
Yeah. And then just
Yeah,
having faith that it's being done
I know.
properly and
Right.
not being able to have your
Yeah.
finger in every single thing.
Right. And that's the thing about growing, right?
Mhm.
Growth is really challenging because you have to let go.
Yeah.
You have to let go. So that's really hard too. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh my
So
gosh. It's a lot. It's a
it
lot. And how
is.
long has Living Tree been
So we're coming up on
going?
5 years in May.
5 years.
Yeah, well, that's when we incorporated. I mean, I
Okay.
guess it was really kind of August when we started. I mean, yeah, the first year or two, we were it was part time for both of us
Yeah.
because I was in school, Kyle was working.
Yeah.
So I'd say 2022 was when we kind of really started. That's when we got our distributor,
Right.
and I mean, we were always taking it seriously, but we're really able to kind of push ahead full steam.
Yeah. You've certainly gotten a lot of accolades for what you're doing, right?
Mhm.
So it's probably been a nice thing to keep you going, even though there's obvious challenges, right, when you're growing a business.
Yeah.
But that must feel good. I mean, the first thing I asked you about successes is you actually talked about the people and how much they love your product.
Mhm.
You didn't say like, "Oh, I got a listing here or there." You
Yeah.
talked about how people feel when they have your product. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's true. I think that's kind of the most fundamental thing.
yeah,
And so I feel fortunate that we feel confident about that, even if it sometimes feels like everything else is
yeah,
falling apart.
yeah. I know everybody feels like that
Mhm.
though to a degree, right? So
Totally.
I know that is the challenging part. And again, why we do the Heart of Food and Beverage,
Mhm.
because there isn't, and also why we have the lunchroom, right? Like why we have these things to kind of try and support because it is so hard. Anybody that has a food business out there that is listening to this
Mhm.
knows that intimately. And the folks that are, out there that don't know, if you knew how hard it was, people, you would all be buying local and you would be shoving this stuff in your grocery baskets and showing up to shows and,
Yeah.
just really and markets, and you would really be walking that talk because it is really hard for these folks. So we know that. We do
Yeah.
know that.
Kind of
So
feels like navigating one of those, those like laser obstacle course, in like Ocean's
yeah.
11, those like that's what it feels like.
It's true. And
Yeah.
you just when you I know someone said to me, I can't remember who this was, and they were talking about how they had gotten through this big thing. Oh, it was someone talking about getting HACCP certification. And they were
Mm.
like, oh, we did all this work and we got HACCP. And then I just wanted to relax for a bit.
Mhm.
And then I realized, like, her business partner turned and said, relax. Now we have to run even faster and harder
Yeah.
because now we've got to build the business, right?
Exactly.
And she was just like, no.
Yeah. No, it's
So,
so true.
yeah. So it doesn't really matter, right? It's like there's always, there's a success around the corner and then there's a challenge around the next one, right? So it seems
Yeah.
ongoing.
Or, oh, we got this big listing. Like, oh, okay, now we actually have to make the product and
Right.
fill these orders.
Right.
So,
Yeah. I know.
mhm.
I know. So yes, I know. There's always challenges with it. It's something else. In any case, I really enjoyed interviewing you, Emily, and thank you so much for coming in. And I don't know if you want to leave us with any parting words around Living Tree Foods, and if there's anything you want to, or if you want to give a message to anyone, here's your shot.
Oh, goodness. Well, yes, thank you so much for having me. This is really cool. Yeah, no, just thank you to everyone who buys the product and enjoys it. If you haven't tried it, come try it at a farmer's market. And yeah, no, it's definitely tough, and I think especially tough these days, but it's really fulfilling as well to have your own business and to see it growing, and definitely don't want to take that for granted. So,
That's great.
mhm. Hmm.
Okay. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Okay.